A Court of Frost and Starlight, our favorite inner circle from Velaris, is celebrating winter solstice. So not quite Christmas, but still within the festive realm as such. And I'm very excited because I think I've mostly recovered from the emotional turmoil that SJM put me through in A Court of Wings and Ruin, but I am still in my feelings. I am still listening to my playlist and I am still destroyed. But that's why we're here reading this, because the characters are also still destroyed from a war. I've only read the first chapter. Oh, there's two things I highlighted so far. This one is, I don't know, it just felt like very sweet, a very everything happens for a reason sort of line. Once I had dreaded that first snow, had lived in terror of long, brutal winters. But it had been a long, brutal winter that had brought me so deep into the woods that day nearly 2 years ago. A long, brutal winter that made me desperate enough to kill a wolf. That had eventually led me here, to this life, this happiness. And I just felt like that was such a sweet way to open up the book, because we know Feyre and her whole family hated winter because that was when they starved the most. And this is where she is now. Oh, this was just like a simple, sweet moment. But Feyre's birthday is Solstice, but it doesn't seem like it's really been celebrated, and she doesn't know exactly how they celebrate it here in Velaris specifically. So she's talking to Nuala about, what do you guys do for Solstice? Nuala says, we love it dearly. It's intimate, warm, lovely, presents and music and food, sometimes feasting under the starlight. And Feyre goes, the opposite of the enormous wild days party I'd been subjected to last year at the Spring Court. But presents. I had to buy presents for all of them. Not had to, but wanted to, because my friends, now my family, had fought and bled and nearly died as well. See, already emotional, but I just thought that was so sweet, and I'm really excited to see all the gifts that Feyre gets everyone. But I think we need that after war, just to be with the characters. We have about 229 pages, so my goal is to read about 100. This video needs to come out Wednesday, which when you're watching this, it'll be winter solstice. You see what I did there? Done, so I can knock out the rest 129 and get this edited. It's now our favorite time. It's time to read. You guys, do you like my little silly holiday sweater? It has like ho ho ho, LOL cats. I don't know, I found it at a thrift store and it's really cute. And I'm very excited because this is like my only holiday read because I've been so sucked into this universe. So I'm very excited to start this. Okay, I have my coffee. I went and got a latte at our favorite local coffee shop. Let's do this. I just had a late lunch. It's about 3:30. I'm doing really well with my goal. I'm on page 74 out of 100, so we'll definitely make that goal very easy today. There was this moment Feyre and Reese had that was the first moment that made me cry in this book so far. So they're doing their game of share a thought for a thought. So Reese is telling her, he's like, do you remember the moment you tackled me for the very first time after you widowed for the first time? And she's like, of course, that's your thought. But it's more specifically, he's talking about how he feels about her in general. You drove me out of my mind all those months. I still don't quite believe I get to have this, have you. My throat tightened. That was the thought he wanted to trade, needed to share. I wanted you. Even under the mountain, I said, softly. I chalked it up to those horrible circumstances, but after we killed her, when I couldn't tell anyone how I felt about how truly bad things were, I still told you. I've always been able to talk to you. I think my heart knew you were mine long before I even realized it. And that moment made me cry so much because when I finished A Court of Mist and Fury and knew everything, I had to go back and re-listen to ACOTAR to experience all those Reese moments. And in ACOTAR, when Feyre is telling him how she feels, the very first time, if you watch my reaction, I was pissed about it because I thought she should be telling Tam and not him, who felt like an enemy. And then the second time around, you're just like gutted, because you know how Reese feels, and we know that in that moment, the mating bond clicked into place and how he had to leave or it would have destroyed him. Sometimes authors give you gifts and you don't realize that you needed that moment. And it was so special hearing Feyre and hearing how she felt in that moment. I love these books. We got to see some insight with Moore. We went to the Hewn City because Eris was there. That situation is so complicated. Based on what he said in A Court of Wings and Ruin, you don't know the full truth. And he seemed really upset about it. And I totally respect and feel for Moore and why she's upset. But as she recounts that moment here in the book, and based on what we know, how Eris has protected Lucian over the years, but there's 2 moments that she says in her memory. There's no one touches her, he said. The moment we do, she's our responsibility. And then the second thing he says, I take it you do not wish to live here, Morrigan. So my theory is, knowing how awful Baron is, and that if Morrigan came to live at the Autumn Court, it would be awful. And she wouldn't get to live the life she wanted. And so Eris took that as a sign of like, the only way I can save her, which is still a shitty way, is to not get involved. It's still heartbreaking. Oh, and then when I started reading Moore's chapter, I was like, whoa, this is in 3rd person. So I text my bestie Paige and I was like, whoa, why is Moore's chapter in 3rd person? And as she's texting me back, I'm like going back through the pages because I'm like, Reese's was Cass's. And the moment I find Cass's and I see it's in 3rd person, Paige texts me back and goes, all of them are in 3rd person except for Feyre and Reese. So her theory, because she said that Thorn of Glass and Crescent City are also in 3rd person, so the only 1st person point of view we get is Feyre and Reese, which means somehow this whole thing is connected to them. That's freaking crazy. Oh, I'm nervous for this. Baron supposedly wants to just walk into the mortal lands and take what's his, or what he thinks is his. So he has to go talk to Tam because, as we know, the Spring Court borders the mortal lands. Hadn't really seen him since everything's gone down. I left off on page 112. Okay, so Reese went to Spring. It didn't go so terrible. He was kind of a troll, but I do agree that Tamlin deserved all the trollery he gave him and all of the sadness that he sits in. He put this upon himself. And there's something that Feyre said. Reese asked Feyre if she wanted to come. She said, I might owe Tamlin my mate's life. I might have told Tamlin that I wished him peace and happiness, but I did not wish to see him, speak with him, deal with him, not for a long time, perhaps forever. And I think that is so well said. And then this is where I'm like all with Reese on this. She survived it though, survived you. And you still felt the need to humiliate her, belittle her. If you meant to win her back, old friend, that wasn't the wisest route. Tamlin knows because he has nothing. I was dying because Cass and Feyre get drunk and then they're like, oh crap, we forgot we were supposed to decorate the house. And they try to decorate it. It looks so messy. They try to fix it. And then Az comes in and starts fixing it. And Reese like immediately knows who did the decorations and who tried to fix them. And then they give Az the bottle of wine, the good wine to drink, and he's chugging it. And then Reese teases him and he's like, well, at least we know who's been drinking all my good wine. Want another, Az? Az like freaks out. He's like, I would like to explain. And he's like, I know it's Cass. I just love how he got like so scared. Nesta has reasons to be angry. I understand them, but she said some really mean things to Elaine. She basically told Elaine that you guys have your lives and I have mine and I don't want to see you guys ever again. So I left off on Feyre going to go confront her. That should be fun to explore tomorrow. Time to eat dinner. Maybe we'll watch a Christmas movie. I finished it. I'm sad. This book was literally everything I needed after A Court of Wings and Ruin. It's kind of like how everyone complains about all those endings in the Lord of the Rings movies, even though they exist in the book. It's like, we need all those things post-war. It's a lot, it's upsetting, and there is always an aftermath. And I just kind of wanted this to last forever. We left off where Feyre went to go meet Nesta at the bar and talk to her. That was a really intense scene. Feyre essentially like bribes her to come to the house by saying she'll pay her rent if she's there for Solstice, which is so hard and so complicated. I don't want to fault anyone in this situation because Feyre just desperately wanted to see her sister. She wanted Elaine to be happy, and Nesta is going through so much that she doesn't even know how to feel it or to process it, where we discover later she feels empty inside, and that's really sad, which makes me even more nervous for A Court of Silver Flames. And also, we don't know really if Nesta still has her powers, which is something Feyre brings up. She said, I'd once wondered if that was her power, her curse granted by the cauldron. Feyre said she still is an animal, still is death. Nothing I'd seen of it, glimpsed in those moments against Hybern, had seemed like death, just brute power. But the bone carver had whispered it, and I'd seen it, shining golden bright in her eyes. So I'm curious if we're going to see glimpses of that in A Court of Silver Flames, more of her power, what it is, does she still have it? Because we also don't know if Elaine is still a seer, because the cauldron was essentially destroyed and remade. This moment specifically made me cry so hard. Feyre is out shopping with Elaine and they go into a tapestry shop and there is a weaver there. Feyre picks up a tapestry that has the mountain for the North Court with the 3 stars, and it's made of a very interesting material. And so she essentially asks her what it's made of. I keep hoping that every time I tell someone who asks about the void, it will get easier. The weaver said, if people ask about it as frequently as she claimed, I couldn't have endured it. And then Feyre says, how? I gestured to the loom, the half-finished piece taking form on its frame, the art on the walls. How do you keep creating despite what you lost? Whether she noted the crack in my voice, she didn't let on. The weaver only said, her sad, sorrowful gaze meeting mine, I have to. The simple words hit me like a blow. The weaver went on, I have to create, or it was all for nothing. I have to create, or I will crumple up with despair and never leave my bed. I have to create because I have no other way of voicing this. She broke my gaze at last to look at her tapestry. Then there would be no hope shining in the void. As someone who is a creator myself, and I feel like I can't stop for so many reasons, definitely helps me process my emotions. It keeps you going. There was a time when my dad was sick and I could not stop creating. It was the only thing I felt that was keeping me up from falling over. And even in those moments, I was still falling while I was creating. So I think there's a lot to say in that, and that was something that really affected me in A Court of Wings and Ruin with the Ouroboros mirror, and Feyre having to see herself and all the parts of her she didn't like. And sometimes my feelings for myself can be overwhelming. They can feel like a weakness, but then I get to create these things of beauty in the process. I just feel like it really hit on that, and this is probably my top moment of the book. Oh, I loved this. Elaine told everyone that it was Feyre's birthday, and she's like, I don't want to celebrate my birthday, but everyone still does it, and I think it's good they've done it because she still loves it. I think that she doesn't have good memories around it, which is why it's hard for her. Elaine tells Nuala to decorate the cake with the drawer that she painted from ACOTAR. On the top, flowers, in the middle, flames, and at the bottom, whitest layer, stars. Which I kind of me and my friend have a theory that like each of those drawers belong to the courts that the girls belong to. Flowers for Elaine, technically Spring Court. Interesting. She put it all in that order specifically, so Feyre's drawer is at the bottom because she said, you're the foundation, the one who lifts us, you always have been. Which I think is like a really big deal, especially everything that's going on with Nesta. And like people might say Feyre's pushing too hard, but like that's what she does. That's how she loves everyone. Okay, this was really funny. Reese is in control of all the presents because all of these hooligans snoop like no one's business, and specifically Az, because he's the spy master. He could spy better than everyone. So Reese has to hide it from them. This was really sad. It happens right before Solstice, and Moore's like, you don't know where the boys are right now? And Feyre's like, I'm nervous now. So Moore takes her up to the cabin, and they are all having a snow fight. Each bat boy has their own fort, and they're doing a snowball battle between each other. And Moore says they've been doing it since they were little boys. It just made me so happy. Like all 3 of them are such of the bestest friends, they're brothers, and that they continue this tradition. And I just like didn't know I needed that scene and how happy it made me, and it gave me happy tears like it is now as I think about it. I love that Az was the winner after they said like the 199th time or something. Like Feyre says these Illyrian warriors, the best warriors in the world, are having a snowball fight. They don't use magic, they don't use siphons, they don't use weapons, nothing. That's probably my second favorite scene. So Cass tries to walk home with Nesta after Solstice and really get through to her, and she's just not having it, but he had a present for her, and he throws it into the frozen lake. Ice instantly reformed over the hole he'd blown open, as if it and the present had never been. I think they're mates, and I think this is why it's hurting Cass so much. Okay, so as Nesta is in her apartment, the night's frosty chill crept through the worn shutters, drawing another tremble from her, but she didn't light the fire in the hearth across the room. She could barely stand to hear the crack and pop of the wood, had barely been able to endure it at Feyre's townhouse. Snap, crunch. How no one ever remarked that it sounded like breaking bones, like a snapping neck. She had no idea. This made me think about all the nightmares and trauma that Feyre had from being under the mountain. And I feel like Feyre would understand Nesta's trauma more than anyone. I really hope that they're able to talk about this. her book's gonna wreck me. So many complex feelings about Tamlin. I felt like I forgave him after everything that happened in A Court of Ruins because he saved Reese's life. And again, I said I would never forget all the horrible things he did. But the second time Reese goes back to his home, I'm kind of having a hard time right now forgiving him, especially seeing all the pain and trauma that's going through Elaine and Nesta. And Tam asks Reese, do you think she'll ever forgive me? The question was a rasp, as if he'd been screaming. I knew whom he meant, and I didn't know. I didn't know if her wishing him happiness was the same as forgiveness. If Feyre would ever want to offer him that. Forgiveness could be a gift to both, but what he'd done? Do you want her to? His green eyes were empty. Do I deserve it? No, never. He must have read it on my face because he asked, do you forgive me for your mother and sister? I don't recall overhearing an apology. As if an apology would ever right it. As if an apology would ever cover the loss that still ate at me, the hole that remained where their bright, lovely lives had once glowed. I don't think one will make a difference anyway, Tamlin said, staring at the felled elk once more, for either of you. Broken, utterly broken. You will need Tamlin as an ally before the dust has settled, Lucien had warned me, had warned my mate. Perhaps that's why I'd come too. He has a lot of shit to go through with himself, and I think he's realizing that. I don't know if I can actually forgive him. So this is a plot thing, which I'm holding on to. Moore is at her home that has horses, and while she's riding her horse gets spooked. But Moore had scented nothing, saw nothing. The trundle of her power speared through the woods, revealed only the usual birds and small beast. A heart drinking from a hole in an iced over stream. Nothing except there between a snarl of thorns, a patch of darkness. It did not move. Did not seem to do anything but linger and watch, familiar and yet foreign. Something in her power whispered not to touch it, not to go near it, even from the distance. Moore obeyed. That's something to pay attention to and be concerned about. I love this book. I don't understand why people on the internet crap on it like it's the worst one in the series. I think this is exactly what we needed, and I'm probably gonna read this every holiday season because it just makes me so happy. I want to go to Flores. Thank you for watching this. If you haven't checked out my reading vlog for Court of Wings and Ruin, make sure you check that out after this video. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite scene was in this. There's so many good ones. And I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Just thank you so much for being here. It truly is a gift to me that anyone comes and watches my videos and leaves a comment. And you're all so special to me. So thank you so much for being a part of this community. And I hope that my videos have brought you some sort of joy or escape in return, similar to how Feyre paints to escape or to process her emotions. And she also says in the book that she wanted to give back to help people process the things they go through in their life through art, through painting. And that's a huge reason why I do these and why I share personal nuggets with you guys. It can help you feel less alone or whatever it is that you're going through. And I know the holiday season can be tough for people for a lot of reasons, especially if you're missing someone in your life. I hope my videos help in some way because storytelling is essentially my art form. Thanks. I will see you all soon.